Good evening.
Good evening.
I hereby call this June the 11th meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order. As always, I'd like to take a quick moment and recognize our city manager, Mr. Lee Garrity, and the city staff. Thank you all for being here today. I'd like to recognize our attorney's office led by our city attorney, Attorney Carmen, Attorney Sykes, our public safety attorney. I'd like to also recognize the brave men and women of the emergency management divisions, our police department, our fire departments led by Chief Mayo and Chief Thompson. Thank you all for what you do to help our city to be a better place to live, work, and relax. There is one item on the general agenda, and that is the yearly review of our public safety budget. It's my understanding that we will be voting on the public safety budget and the full budget, which was approved by Finance on this coming Monday. There are several items on the consent agenda, members of the committee. For those who are watching, items on the consent agenda are unanimously approved with one sweeping motion, unless a member of this committee asks it to be pulled for consideration. With that being said, members of the committee, are there any items that we should pull for consideration on the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull C3.
Item C3, if there are no other items, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Been motioned and properly seconded. All in favor, please vote yes. All right, that seems to be unanimously approved. So we will pull item C3, please.
Item C3, ordinance designating on-street handicap parking space in the city's downtown area located in the northwest ward.
Councilmember Larson.
Yes, I just have a couple quick questions on this one. I noticed that on the inventory of parking places, I think the second thing, and the list is down on G, item G, it says 2 spaces on 5th Street. And looking at the map, it looks like 1 space is being designated. Got to get some clarity on that. And
Mr. Turner, is that correct?
I think it is just 1 space. We'll correct it.
Could we make sure that it's consistent on that? Yep. And then the second item is we do have a policy of reviewing these private spaces in front of individuals' homes on a regular basis. Is that what we ended up doing?
That is correct.
And how often does that renewal occur? Do we?
I think it's every 2 to 3
Every
years.
couple of years is what I recall. Excellent. Thank you.
Councilmember McIntosh.
But this is not in front of a private residence. This is in front of an attorney's office. Is the policy the same for review there?
Yeah, I think the council wants to look at all of them, even the ones on 4th Street. On Cherry Street at 4th, after a few years, just to make sure it's still consistent with your intention.
Great. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
I move approval.
Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly seconded. All in favor, please vote yes. That seems to be unanimous. Let's move to item G1, please.
Item G1, presentation of the fiscal year 2018-2019 public safety budget.
Giving us an overview of our public safety budget is our budget director, Ms. Patrice Toney. Ms. Toney, you have the floor.
Good evening, Chairman Taylor, and again to Mayor Pro Tem Burke and members of the Public Safety Committee.
Good evening.
Good evening. The Safe and Secure Community is a council strategic focus area, and that's where our public safety departments lie, the police, fire, and departments of emergency management. Our overall proposed budget is $530 million, and the public safety component is approximately $109 million. We look at just some of the highlights that are in the public safety budget. We have our 2%. Melanie, can you put that on the? Okay. You have your 2% increase for sworn police and certified fire. That will be effective January 1st. This is a series of supplemental pay for sworn officers and certified fire. In addition, we've included in the budget the second portion of our market pay, and in a few slides later I'll show you what that looks like, but that is built into the budget for public safety personnel. In addition, a merit increase on average from 1.5% to 3% based on performance. And then this is the second full year of a 401A contribution and that would apply to non-sworn police, fire, and emergency management employees. So just looking at the market pay study that's in our FY 2019 budget, on the police side, for sworn police, the study results showed that 179 sworn officers were below the market, 351 were within range, and 8 were above the market minimum. And so the study recommended a new market pay for sworn officers to be $41,443. That's a 5% increase. On the fire side, the study results showed that there were 157 certified fire below market, 211 within range, and there were 0 that were above the market minimum. The new starting minimum is $39,470, and that is a 17% increase. Here you see the full public safety starting salary comparison. And probably draw your attention to the third column, which shows the difference between the current starting pay and the survey average starting pay. And then the last column shows what we're proposing for 2019. And so on the police side, only the assistant police chief was under the survey average, about 14%. All other positions were either at the survey average or above. But even still, you see like the starting police trainee will start at $39,000. And when you look at the fire side on the second half of the comparison chart, quite a few were below the survey average, and so all of those will be moved up starting April 2019. Just looking at the public safety pay history, Council has really invested in ensuring that there's progress in public safety pay. So starting January 2017 is when the 2% public safety supplemental pay started. Then in July of that year, we had the annual merit, the 1/3 study adjustment with the new pay, and then an additional 2% adjustment for compression. In September of 2017, Council added a 5% military incentive for both sworn police and certified fire. January 2018, 2% supplemental pay supplement again. And then, of course, for January 2019, this would be an additional round of the supplemental pay that's in the proposed budget, as well as adjustments to the market pay and 2% for compression. In the FY19 proposed budget, there's capital outlay that's budgeted. This includes 26 pursuit vehicles in the police department. The lease payments would be $127,000. The package for the vehicles, which is 26 vehicles, is included in the budget. On the fire side, it includes 1 pumper, and then the equipment for the pumper, as well as turnout gear, is $70,000 for lease payments, and then a master tool set in fire vehicle maintenance. So total for capital outlay in public safety is $1.8 million. Of course, that's over a period of time, but for FY19, lease payments would be $347,000.
Ms. Stoney, before you change slides, we do have a question. Councilman McIntosh.
This is in relation to the incident that we just had where we lost 2 cruisers. Apparently we had 2 total. How, do we budget for that kind of a thing? I mean, do we assume that we're going to lose some vehicles over the course of a year, or does that kind of thing get added back in?
I think it's assumed in what the police department requests in their budget is obviously vehicles that get lost to accidents or various other reasons. This is a slightly lower amount than what they requested, and it was just based on our capacity for this particular fiscal year.
Got it.
So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Larson.
Could you define the difference between pumper equipment and turnout gear for me?
The pumper equipment is actually the equipment that will go on the pumper, the fire truck.
So that's like hoses and axes and
Computer equipment.
computer
yeah,
equipment?
all the-
Okay. And the turnout gear?
Turnout gear will actually go on people.
People.
Yeah.
So it's all new clothing and equipment that goes on for the 5 or 4 people
Protective.
that are riding in that truck.
Yes. Protective gear.
So it's really clothing and equipment, personal equipment.
Yes.
Before we move on, I'm going to look at Chief Mayo. That sounds about right to you, huh, Chief?
Yes, sir. The turnout gear is a structural firefighting ensemble that we use for up to 10 years. After 10 years, to meet the consensus national standards, it has to be replaced. So this is replacement turnout gear, the structural firefighting ensemble, and some new gear for new employees, because that gear is custom made.
Right. So I'm sorry, I think I misread.
Now we're going to have to ask you to come to the podium, Chief, because Mr.
Yeah.
Larson has a follow-up question.
No, I just think I
My
misread
apologies.
this. Somehow I thought that the one pumper that we were buying would require all of this additional pumper equipment and turnout gear, but really they're separate lines, aren't they? We are buying additional pumper equipment that may not go on the one pumper that we're buying, or is that misstated?
So, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Good
Mayor
afternoon.
Pro Tem, members of the committee. So when we take delivery of a new pumper,
Right.
we put generally all new stuff on it, because the pumper that we are replacing, in addition to that piece of
Right.
that fire truck being 15 to 18 years old, all that equipment is also 15 to 18
Sure.
years old. So we put new equipment on the new pumper. And then, yes, sir, what you see in your line is PPE, which stands for personal protective equipment. That is the structural firefighting ensemble. It's traditionally been tan. We're going to a black gear with the reflective striping, the pants and coat, boots, gloves, helmet, that stuff. That's what gets replaced no less often than every 10 years.
Right. But that covers more than just the one pumper crew, or not? In other words, you got a 4-man crew on this pumper, say.
So we would buy the PPE regardless of whether or not we were getting a new fire truck.
Right, got that. So I'm trying to separate the lines here a little bit and understand
they're unrelated.
what the new pumper is actually costing us. So the new pumper is costing us the $514,000, but in order to get that pumper on the road properly equipped, we're going to add another $200,000 in equipment to go on the pumper.
Yes, sir. That
Yeah.
would be radios are the
Right.
biggest part of that.
I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to understand. Then there's going to be another cost that will incur for the fire crew, the firefighters themselves, which may or may not be on this one pumper that we bought, but is covering other firefighters as well.
Yes,
Is that correct? Thank you. I just trying to clarify what we're buying here.
yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Chief, before you leave, Mayor Pro Tem Burke has a question. I'm not sure whether it's for you or Ms. Tony.
No, it's just an observation.
You have the floor, Mrs. Burke.
Yes, thank you. I want to say that when I looked at this logo, Safe and Secure Community, this city of Winston-Salem should always make sure that the people who protect us every day of the 300 and some days in a year, that when they leave their homes, they are safe and secure. We should work hard not to ever have our salaries where they work. If we're going to be a competitive city and get the best, we have to make sure we provide the best, Mr. Chairman and committee members. So it's important for us to say to our people who keep us safe so we can come and go how much we appreciate them, and that we want to keep things moving in a way that people will say, I'd like to live in this city. And also, not only do we want to live in the city, but our police, fire, emergency management people will feel good about leaving their homes every day and do everything to keep them safe and sound. Mr. Chairman, I thought that's important for us to let the record show, because we were lagging behind, and we need to be as fair and respectful to our public safety employees as we would like for people to treat us, Mr. City Manager.
And over the last several years, we have made significant progress, and I'm glad that you brought that up, and thank you for your comments, Mayor Pro Tem Burke. Thank you as well, Chief Mayo.
Thank you all for your support.
All right. Ms. Tony.
Okay. Okay, well, this is the last slide. This is our successful outcomes after release, the SOAR program. This reflects the total budget that includes the work program, the job reintegration and youth development component of SOAR. The total program budget is $586,000. It also includes our community grants to agencies, SOAR contingency funds, and the youth build program. The $85,000 for allocated to community agencies. The agencies are listed below.
Are there any questions for Ms. Tony about SOAR or the previous presentations? Councilmember Larson.
Yeah, I would only say, and I have personal experience with Hawley House, which is a YWCA project, which came before this council, I think, with a rezoning request recently. These SOAR programs are so important to our city, and they address a need for employment. They address a need to give us open a door of opportunity to citizens that we have, and I am thrilled to see us continuing to support and grow these programs.
Mayor Pro Tem Burke.
I would like to compliment the chairman. When he got on this council, he had what he thought would be good, these kinds of agencies, and you have pushed forward with them, and we have supported you, and we've been told they are making a difference.
And I thank all of you for your support. And I mean that from the bottom. This program truly makes a difference. So thank you to Mr. Garrity, Ms. Tony. When you start calling names, you get in trouble. For all the staff who helped to make this program spin, and we're looking forward to seeing much more out of it. Are there any direct questions from Ms. Tony in regards to the budget, the public safety budget specifically? Thank you, Ms. Tony.
Thank you.
All right. Members of the committee, we just had one item on the general agenda that seems to have concluded our business. Is there any other items or anything that we should consider for the good of the order?
Mr. Chairman, I
Pro
haven't
Tem
been
Burke.
talking much, but
That's okay. Take your time. We're welcome back.
yes, I'm going to ask the city manager, will he just take a look at all of the things we've done? We've been very progressive with our facilities in public safety. We've been recognized for what we do in our fire, our police, and I think the public needs to know who we are and how we carry out our duties and responsibilities, and sometimes just a list.
Yes, ma'am.
And I appreciate that.
Mayor Pro Tem, this council has invested more in public safety in the last 4 years than I can remember my career. On the facility side, we've renovated 3 fire stations, built a brand new one. Public safety has 3 districts now, which is a huge police department, a huge difference. But on the pay side, the strides that we've made, the chief Thompson can tell you that recruitment we are more successful than we have been in a long time. And I think a big part of that is what this council does to provide the pay and equipment and training that makes us top rate.
Thank you.
And I borrowed this comment from Mayor Pro Tem Burke, and I want you to know that I'll take it going forward. But it's difficult to put a price tag on safety, and we don't do that. But we just want to make sure that the police, the fire, and emergency management departments, we provide them with everything they need to serve our citizens to the best of their ability. I mean this sincerely as a native. I joke about it all the time. I believe we certainly have the best emergency management, police, and fire department in the country. And thank you all for what you do. So with that being said, hopefully this budget is reflective of the way we feel about your contribution to this community. If there's nothing further that should be considered for the good of the order, we'll consider this meeting to be adjourned.